online broadcast network, AFTERBUZZ TV. Over 20 million weekly downloads in over 150 countries, and your number one source for after-show entertainment. AFTERBUZZ TV, the destination for TV superfans. Producing aftershows for over 300 of your favorite TV shows, interviewing celebrities and showrunners, and bringing you behind-the-scenes exclusives. All thanks to E! Entertainment's Maria Menounos, producer Kevin Undergaro, and internet leader Akamai. Now, let the buzz begin!
Remember when the
Hey guys,
killed a million hogs a day?
Instead of hogs, it's men today. Plow the fourth one under.
Helix! There I am. I don't know if you guys can hear me at all there, but I'm your host, Zach Wilson. We're talking about Helix here on AfterBuzz TV. Vade in pace. Guys, thank you for joining us. If you haven't done so already, log on to youtube.com/AfterBuzzTV as Stephen does a jig, and you can subscribe. You can subscribe to this and all the AfterBuzz TV after shows right there. We do over 100 shows a week. You can get us on there. You can get us on iTunes, SoundCloud, and while you're watching us in any way, you can tweet at us using the hashtag ABTVHelix or my personal favorite, Ziz.
Yeah. Hashtag Ziz.
Guys,
let's raise this conversation a step further. Let's get some fans. You guys tweet the link out. Say, hey, join the discussion.
Yeah.
And I'm in the chat room.
And you can join in the discussion on Twitter. You can join me. I'm your host for tonight, Zach Wilson. Matt Lieberman, unfortunately, not able to join us.
He's dead.
He's not dead.
I killed him.
He's not dead. He'll be back next week. But guys,
because he'll be a zombie.
I mean, we've seen weirder on this show. But guys, you can tweet at me at that Zach Wilson, ThatZachWilson. But you can also tweet at my fantastic panel over here.
You can tweet me at Matt Lieberman, MattLieberman.
You're making it very confusing.
You can tweet me at Stephen Lemieux, StephenLemieux. Guys, I get confused sometimes.
Hey, because you look exactly alike. Hi, guys. It's Liz here. Glad to be back. And you can follow me on Twitter at Lizzie Mawy. That's LIZZYMAWY.
All right, guys, let's jump in on episode 8, Vade in pace, which I feel like I just have to drop my voice even deeper. Because being in Latin, it translates to rest in peace, for anybody who doesn't know.
Fun fact, a cardinal died today.
What?
Vade in pace.
Well,
why is that a fun fact, though?
Okay, it's not a very fun fact, but I just felt it made sense to do the Latin Vade in pace.
That's this one guy, though. We just dealt with an entire island of people dying, Stephen.
I mean, but they're not resting very peaceful. Oh, yes, they look like they were, but child death is never fun.
Yeah, so we're coming back from last week's the culling.
Oh, my God. The trimming.
Oh, gosh.
Bit of a trimming.
I mean, sometimes when you're growing a garden, you have to know when to trim off the top of the hedges so that it'll grow fuller from the base. At least that's Michael's theory.
Wow.
What? That is accurate.
Phrasing. So much phrasing.
So much phrasing. Does nobody use phrasing anymore?
No, they really don't. Not even on Archer. But we're talking about Helix, guys. So the big thing that happened in the beginning of this was the outside world is now on the island again.
Yeah, we have from the first episode. What's her name? The
Coast Guard.
The Coast Guard lady. I don't know why I can't remember her name. It's bad of me.
If any of you in the chat room know what her name is.
She's only appeared twice, so cut us some slack.
Yeah. So she comes to the island and she says that the infection has gotten off the island. Like, well, you told me that there was no island within 100 miles of this place.
Why is everybody Alan?
Anyway.
No official islands, she says.
No official islands. There's a army radio outpost that had
40
over
miles away.
70 people on it got infected.
Yeah. Well, what did you guys think when they busted down? Because, first we got our team finding the slaughter, and Anne finally sees it, and she, of course, is devastated. These are all of her people. But when I'm just calling them CDC SWAT, when they bust in there, I was shocked to see the Coast Guard and that they were there for the CDC. I assumed when we saw this in the previews last week, I assumed we were getting Ilaria.
You could tell that it was. I watched it after our show last week, and I was like, oh, that's the woman from the first episode. Yeah. I don't know why we were making that prediction. And you know what? What made me so angry is when I was sitting down to watch this episode, I was just thinking, like, wouldn't it be interesting if they put Steven Weber in the oubliette? Like, I even thought that, and then I just was like, damn it, they're going to do it during this episode, and I'm not going to get credit for my prediction. And lo and behold.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of those points in Helix, but that's good. You want them to be paying stuff off quickly. Like, no reason to make us wait. But we'll get into Michael and Amy and all of the shenanigans that they got up to. But first, we have the Coast Guard. First of all, this is probably the most badass Coast Guard unit of all time.
Not really. I don't think so. It took a lot of bullets to put any of those things down when...
Yeah, or not, like, check around or something like that. And then they're, like, wussing out. Like, we need to get out of here. It's like, well, we need to solve what's going on. No,
it's definitely the most badass portrayal of the Coast Guard, though, because when was the last time you saw, like, a really active, gun-toting Coast Guard member?
I mean, anytime I see anyone in the Coast Guard, to be perfectly honest. But no, yeah, she's a hard ass. But you think, like, man, this woman's being a total biatch, and then you realize, actually, no, she's on an island where it's a very infectious disease going around, and she probably doesn't want to die, so she probably wants to get the hell out of there as soon as possible.
Yeah, I will say, though, their tactics of, like, so basically their mission is they're going onto this island to retrieve the top CDC team because the outbreak has spread further. The military base nearby has started the outbreak of our virus, not Narvik, but whatever.
Mycotics.
The mycotics. So what is her... she wants to get them off, but she keeps stalling, letting people go do their thing.
Phrasing.
That was a bad phrase.
But so they keep stalling her because they don't want to get off the island. But she's going at the wrong approach for Peter and Alan, basically anyone, because she walks in and thinks that it's still like the CDC just cleaning up a disease, when really, like, there's like hashtag forever fetus is what Helix's Twitter was using. That's what the official Helix Twitter has coined.
Stop jumping ahead, Steve.
No, I'm saying, like, just there's that going on, there's Ilaria going on, there's these bees and all these things.
Bees.
And she doesn't know about really any of that. She's just main priority
she sees a virus outbreak, and that's fair. I guess the part that for me got a little confusing, she's like, it's a quarantine. Mandatory evacuation.
We're gonna leave the people here.
No, but those are counterintuitive.
Yeah.
If it's a quarantine, nobody's allowed to leave. Mandatory evacuations is the exact opposite.
Seriously.
That is very true. I didn't even think about that. But I love that, like, Alan is just like, I'm not a CDC doctor anymore. You can't control me. And she's like, yeah, I'm pretty much I can. I'm going to put you in handcuffs and take you off the island. No, it's funny because in season 1, Alan kept asking questions and nobody answered them. Now Alan's just making statements and nobody's listening to them. Yeah. He just goes through a series of evolutions to being ignored.
Yeah.
Nah.
And he's going to be the one that saves everyone, and we know this so far.
Well, because he is. I mean, at one point, Sarah steps up when they're having this argument with the woman from the Coast Guard. She steps up, and Alan is the leading virologist, or whatever medical term that
was
I
a good word.
can't
If
quite...
that wasn't what it is,
No, a virologist is a thing, but I don't... Either way, he knows this stuff better than anybody else in the world, and she stands up for him, which is pretty big considering... The fact that he is a wanted terrorist, which the Coast Guard seems totally unknowledgeable about.
Yeah, like you'd think they would know that he's like a wanted terrorist and all that kind of stuff. Oh, your name's Alan? How many Dr. Farragut's are there here?
Yeah.
There's only... I mean, you might have had... when you have one on your team, you assume that they know about the other one who's a wanted terrorist.
Well, there's like 2.5 Dr. Farragut's on this island.
2.5.
I'm counting the fetus.
It's not a doctor.
I mean...
It's still a fetus. It has not earned a doctorate.
At what time does a fetus become a doctor?
When it graduates from either medical school or a PhD program.
Oh, you're
I feel like you guys are just going to argue with each other the entire... I'm chilling here in the corner.
So...
Anyway, so the big thing is that they sort of gloss over in this. It's like, oh, that's the problem. We'll deal with it later. The virus is out.
Yeah.
The virus is off the island, which I guess we know because it's the big problem in the future.
Well, if the government's main goal is to quarantine places and then bring people out of the quarantine, then it's no wonder that the virus is going to spread 30 years in the future.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean...
And how many people, can I just say, like, I don't want to jump ahead too much, but are we not getting closer and closer to thinking my prediction about, what's his name, Caleb? Why can't I say that name right?
Caleb is their son. Look.
Thank you!
Yes, Liz, you said it with 1,000 other people.
No, don't you do that. That was mine.
Anyway, it's a reasonable thing now that there is especially a fetus on the island, that it's not in Sarah forever hung up.
And can I just say how confusing it is that why is it that every single piece of technology is on the side? Like, they make it a point to constantly say, this is 40 years old, and this is over 20 years old, Yet you somehow have this thing that can keep a fetus alive outside of a womb. Like, you have that technology. Everything else is over 20, 40 years old, but we have this.
You always have to be ready for Forever Fetus. Forever Fetus can attack at any moment. It just didn't make any sense. Like, that annoyed
me.
Well, no, but Michael has been taking in people from off the island. So theoretically, there are people bringing in technology, and he is going about this with the express purpose of creating. He wants an immortal baby. That's his life goal.
Then you think the what is it, the sonogram, the thing that sees the baby inside
the
stomach?
You mean an ultrasound?
Ultrasound, thank you. You would think that the ultrasound then would be a little more high tech, because then they would have needed that to see how, check on the progress of the possible immortal babies that he was trying to impregnate the chicks with.
I mean, why use an ultrasound when you can just cut her open and look at it? I mean, that's pretty much what they did. I mean, when they first, we're skipping ahead, sorry. Going back to what we were talking about, we'll get into Forever Fetus soon, okay? We will dissect Forever Fetus' storyline.
Oh, no.
But anyway, so going back to what you were saying about the quarantine and taking them off the island, I think the islands are quarantined, and I think she wants the CDC to be brought to whatever the other island's name was.
It was a military base.
Yeah, no, she says the island's name in the episode. I didn't write it down. I think she wants to take them there so they can treat the soldiers as opposed to this random Brotherhood cult and try to cure it there.
Well, now that there's like 4 of them left.
So they're not really evacuating them. They're getting them off this island, taking them to the other island to cure them.
That makes sense. I guess you could say it's a mandatory evacuation just for CDC personnel that are considered vital to the solution.
You know what I really, really loved about this episode, though, is... Guys, I know I make gaming references a lot, and I don't know if you've played BioShock, Zach. I think I've asked you this before on the show. But there's a certain charm to somebody taking over a burning ship. Like a ship that's just... metaphorically. Like, the ship is sinking, and there's a mutiny to take over the ship, and somebody's taking the reins on something that's completely ending. And that's what I see with Allison's character, Amy, in that she's taking over the reins and taking over this cult as it's just becoming burned to the ground to nothing. She's going to rule over dust.
Yeah. Which I thought was also curious, too, because I thought most of the point earlier in the show was she was like, I'm finally going to get off this island. And it's like, I mean, I guess maybe, change her point of view because now she doesn't have the big guy to worry about to, like, rule over her and, like, be rapey. But, which, that whole scene. Ugh. But it's curious to me that she still wouldn't want to get off the island just because it's like, well, what the heck are you have left? Like, you don't want these guys to impregnate you. They already talked about, I think, was it the episode before where the apples made every single other non-immortal man infertile?
Yeah, I mean, these are the things that Michael has been working on.
Yeah, so that's what I'm saying. It's not like they can recreate without Michael. Like, they can't bring, unless other people come to the island, which God only knows how they've been getting people to the island after all these years. They said just 100 years ago that is when they had the last cleansing. So I wonder where all these outsiders that weren't originally part of the original family came from. Like, how did they find the island?
I mean, that's a fair question. I guess we don't really know how did Alan get to the island? It doesn't seem to be that Michael really makes trips off the island. It's never discussed. It makes more sense that Alan would somehow find it just because it's Alan and he knows about crap and he's doing research to find them. But any other outsider just trying to escape their life randomly finding this island of all, like it's always kind of bugged me.
It feels more like there's places in the world that people who want to reset their identity and things like that. Like there's just you don't know about it until you're in that position, and then it's just kind of a word of mouth thing. And I think there are places like that. I think there's convents, like especially in Europe. I believe there's probably monasteries that convicted killers are at nowadays that just found it through word of mouth, shaved their heads, and took an oath of silence. Like,
it raises an interesting question. That I think now you say it, I think Michael probably has gone off the island. He probably sneaks away. He's like, I'm going on a little outing. Don't worry about where I'm going.
Yeah.
Don't worry, Anne. Don't worry, Agnes. I'm just going out for a drink. Comes back with like 5 different guys. These are your new brothers and sisters. Because I think Michael probably goes off. He goes into those places where you find the people who have lost their way, and he brings them back. Or maybe he has certain people that he trusts that he sends out into the world.
So you're saying perhaps Michael leaves the island?
Somebody has to, because you're right. There's no way that they're in an island 200 miles off the shore. There's no way that somebody just stumbles upon this.
They have a Twitter account.
They would have had to go to Walmart to get the fetus keeper.
Oh, God.
But if that's true, if we assume that that's true, then it's also
like
reasonable. It explains how they got certain small pieces of technology to the island.
Yeah.
And I have theories about the whole test tube and stuff, but I want to go back to Alan and Peter before we talk about Sister Amy and her takeover of the island, because we have a battle for power going on between Peter and Alan.
Well, it's interesting. Are we going to talk about Sarah's? Can we mix Sarah into that?
Yeah.
Because I think Sarah was the card that was so anti-Alan last episode, and now she's kind of more on his side this episode against Peter, because Peter's saying that this is my team, this is all that, and Sarah has that line, it's like, you were just keeping Helen's seat warm.
Alan?
You said Helen.
I thought she said a girl's name.
No.
What?
Maybe she said...
The line was, it was never your team, Peter. You were just keeping Alan's seat.
I don't know why I heard Helen. I was like, who's Helen? Did I forget a character?
No, there's
Next episode of
There's
Helix.
no Helen.
I don't know why.
I'm Helen. I'm going through a Bruce Jenner experiment.
Oh, gosh.
Anyway, so I thought it was interesting how she's kind of back on his side because she probably had time to cool down, think about it. I still really wish they would empower Sarah a lot more in her character decisions, because it feels like she's beholden to somebody every episode as opposed to being an independent character.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, she's been dealing with a lot. I liked that she outed the Silvers and herself to Kyle in this episode, because that's her starting to take charge of the situation. I think she in that moment realizes that she's been kept down now,
but she's also pretty dumb to eat that honey. Like, I mean, I know you're immortal and all that stuff, but you're also dealing with, like, a virus created by immortals.
Not to mention the fact that we find out later that this is the virus that is killing the immortals.
Well,
so
but that's hindsight.
Play into.
Hindsight's 2020, because, like, yes, now we know that she's going to get sick. Although it's fair, she was already working without gloves on with this stuff anyway.
Yeah.
If she was going to get sick, she probably was already going to.
The 30-year later strain, like, maybe it doesn't start affecting the Silver Eyes until, like, many years later. Maybe it mutates and becomes stronger.
Yeah, well,
so we don't know.
Even Julia, who is sick in the future, is only a little sick. She still looks perfectly young, and she's just, like, kind of dying slowly from the inside.
Oh, yeah,
so
she's got those
Sarah's going to be
stuff.
around for a while.
Yeah. I don't know, like, the attachment with the baby and everything like that, like, it's just, I wish something would just, like, things are starting to happen, but again, like you guys said, like, she's like kind of like a weak character, and the fact that, you know, even I think it was last episode where, you know, she was like yelling at, like, you didn't care about our baby, da-da-da. It's like he only just found out.
No,
you only just told him when you ran into him on the island.
It was, he did find out on the island.
I mean, she hasn't reached the level of Katrina, but and that's
crossing references
that's a Sleepy
now.
Hollow reference, but she hasn't
I
reached
thought you were
that
talking about the hurricane.
No, but she does. I mean, I think it was fair that she reacted the way that she did last week.
I would love to see a hurricane on the island right now, like in the midst of things. I think that'd be a good.
That would be very interesting. That'd be very interesting.
There's like a Six Flags abandoned years later, 30 years. It's just in water.
But I mean, that could be, while we're on that, they talk about the way that it probably got over to the military base was not because somebody spread it, but because the bees got caught up in a wind stream, and so they made it over there. So yes, the bees are to blame, but a hurricane could theoretically send the bees who knows where.
I'm just laughing because I'm just picturing like,
this is a sci-fi show. They're looking for cross-promotional branding.
I'm just thinking about like going out like, oh man, smell that ocean air, so good, and just like look at this gust of wind just blows these bees at you.
Where did you put the bees, Peter?
But anyway, so yeah, I think Sarah in this, like, she is really starting to take charge of the situation because she's going out to look for her baby. Now, yes, it's like the classic, like, the woman's going to go find her baby storyline, but who knows where the baby is?
Can we just talk how awkward it would be to be in the Coast Guard and walk into like a room with the CDC team and just like 100 dead bodies?
100.
Like that is the worst time for them to show up, really.
Yeah, but I mean, as Peter says, it's worse because he's seen fields of dead bodies after being caused by a disease, and that's terrible, but it's a natural disaster. There's almost murder. Like you can almost forgive it in your mind. Because
it couldn't be helped. This is something that was caused, you know.
Yeah, like, one person's actions that they did not stop caused all of these people to die.
Yeah. I'm just laughing because I'm picturing the CDC like coming in. He's like, oops. You know, like just somebody like that. That would have been the end of the show. Like I was really hoping that, well, I don't want to jump ahead too much, but
yeah, so, I mean, here's the question, just before we move on, and talk about Amy and Michael and Julia and Caleb. Do you guys trust Alan at this point? Alan has sort of gotten back into head of the CDC
honestly,
team.
I've never not trusted him.
Yeah, Alan's the only one I do trust. Like, Matt Long, Double Dick Texas, is... I mean, he's great, but, like, I don't know what he's doing. Like, he kind of seems oblivious to everything. And then when he learns the truth, we're going to have, like, next episode, he's going to be still discovering the truth. And then maybe like 2 or 3 episodes from now, he'll finally be, like, on the same page with everyone. But he's in that, like, intermediary period where you're like, all right, well, you're going to be put off to the side for a little bit. You're just going to be on this discovery path. Don't really care about you for the time
being. He's going to turn into Alan from season 1 and be like, I want answers! And, like, nobody's giving them to him. He's just, like, going to find out as he goes.
I think they're playing us for fools right now with Steven Weber's character.
Interesting.
I think we're assuming that nobody's talked to him since that nobody's talked to him in the 30 years that he's been in the oubliette.
That's true. And let's get started on that. Before we do, I want to take a quick moment, talk to you guys about iTunes, YouTube, all the ways that you guys can watch us. Guys, if you haven't done so already, go on to youtube.com, hit us with a thumbs up button. You see that little button? Steven's the one that usually yells at you about it. I'm going to ask you nicely. Please go click the button. Go on to iTunes, hit us with a review. We love getting reviews from you guys. We want to know what you think of the show. What are your favorite moments so far this season? What are you enjoying on the show? Who are you looking forward to us having on the show in the future? Because it's those reviews that help us get the fantastic guests that we've had so far this season, like Neil Napier, Allison Louder, we had Mark Ganime, and we have some more coming up. Steven,
we're working on confirming Kira Zagorski, Stephen Maeda for the finale. Stephen Adelson, the director, would like to join us for an episode. We're trying to work that in here.
Bring Candy.
Severn Thompson wants to figure out a way, but she's very busy.
All good stuff, and your guys' reviews help us get those people in the studio. So we got a bunch of new ratings, but we don't have reviews, so I'm going to shout out some people on Twitter. Shout out to Allison Louder, who says, every time you do the Alan voice, I grin so much. Thank you. I'm just going to do it more. She also says, I probably shouldn't encourage this, but dude, you are killing me. Helen the Hidden Bees, Alan voice. Oh my God. And shout out to the chat roll guys. Again, we'll give you a shout out if you'll tweet the show out with the link saying, hey guys, watch this. It's the Helix fan discussion. Shout out to Heather Sevo, Jonathan Edwards, Cameron Barnhart, let's see, Destiny Morna.
No.
Sevo.
Brock
Rippian, who says, reminds me of Dumbledore leaving Hogwarts to look for Horcruxes. And off to 2009 and Mikey Bag of Donuts. There's a few more, guys. Thank you for watching. Thanks for commenting in the chat. And we're enjoying having fun with you guys.
So let's get into Amy's takeover.
Oh my gosh, yes.
Because Fantastic job by Alison Louder in this episode.
Yes.
We start out with Amy literally in a glass jar of emotion, glass case of emotion.
Oh God. Oh God.
She's balled up there, and like she knows her only way out is to either give in, seemingly at least, to Michael's desires or die. What were you guys thinking about this? Liz, you have so many emotions you're trying to get out.
I'm so mad because I don't know why I can't find. I had insomnia yesterday. I'm running on 2 hours of sleep, and I just stayed up to watch this episode.
What did you think of Amy's storyline?
I was just so good. Like, there's no words. There aren't any.
So,
I was so
from somebody
grossed
who
out.
can speak English,
Shut up.
I really enjoyed it.
Yeah.
I really enjoyed the storyline. I was excited. The one thing that I could have passed on is that I would have let this happen a little later in the season, more like maybe next episode. And the only reason I say that is because the only unbelievable part about this is...
You're talking about Amy's takeover?
Amy's takeover.
Okay.
The only unbelievable part about this is that Brother Michael would believe her so soon. That's the only unbelievable part, because he's smart.
Yeah,
but
like,
at the
I just
same
need to be
time-
locked in here for a day, and I'm
At
better
the
now.
same time, I can forgive it because of his cockiness.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because it's done. He's done it so many times before with her sisters that it makes sense that he was expecting the turn. The fact that it came sooner, he's on a high note. He's just going with it.
Yeah.
Can anybody else like more grossed out over the entire situation that after he's been had, he starts pulling this whole, like, at first he's like, yeah, your body, and I'm like, bleh. and then he tries to pull the I'm your father line afterwards, like trying to like save himself from like whatever they're gonna do to him. I need a shower.
I just love that the thing that immortals are afraid of isn't like death or anything. It's it's life. Because when he's saying it's like, what are you gonna do? Fill it with water? Throw the rats on me? I don't know why I'm turning into Alan.
Everybody is Batman, Alan.
The thing is, I totally buy him
Batman?
like falling for it and like getting himself into the situation because he's never been questioned before. Amy is really the first person to, at least as far as we can see, to really question his leadership. Maybe whenever the last time he had to kill everybody was, but he's not used to, especially his daughters, especially this like line of women, ever questioning his like what he's telling them to do. So when she says, "Okay, let's do this," he's totally like, "Fine, yeah, it's about time."
So I honestly thought they were just going to fill the whole thing with cement.
No.
Yeah, that's what I thought when they started putting the clay down there.
Like
I
they just
assumed
leave
they
his
were
head
gonna.
free and just have like the cement. And
Oh
it's
my
like,
God.
It's
God.
like Brother Michael head. He'd be like the head of the brother.
Stop.
I mean, there is a trend with immortals and heads being like kept on ice.
But I mean, it's powerful what he says there. He's just like, you can control this for now, but in the end, you're just dust, and I will live forever, and you will be just dust that I walk over.
I will
on my
walk
way out."
upon that dust.
Does anybody laugh? Not to a little ahead, but when we get to the scene in the future, like I find it funny how like kind of crappily, the with the rocks and everything, what they're doing with the cement, and then we see 30 years in the future they took the time, or somebody did, to have this really nice like marble looking like engraving of his name over it. It wasn't just the pile of rocks and all that crap. Like, do you guys think that they did that, or do you think that was somebody later?
I think they did
that
that.
little
Yeah, I
monument
think
thing.
the idea is that they were only piling the rocks to give them a
Rocks.
base.
put
And
the
then
cement
they
over.
cemented it over.
It looked like marble,
They
though.
effectively put him in a pyramid, but alive.
A tomb.
Yeah.
Too. I still think there's going to be a time where we see him again before he's gone for good.
You think? I mean, well, flash forward to
30 years.
the 30 years in the future, and we've got Julia like walking around looking for. Like, because Caleb ran off with her sword with Hitake's legacy written on it,
Yeah.
which refresher. My running theory on that is that
talk
it
a lot with
is
my
the
hands.
formula that on the sword is the formula for the cure or for immortality.
Yeah, something. Oh, and what are your opinions on why Amy's so desperate?
Hold on. Let's not.
No, it's because it's going back to her takeover.
Yeah.
Why is she so intrigued or into the idea of being another, like an immortal? Because, I mean, again, I'm just trying to put together the pieces here. I mean, I guess it makes sense now that there's nobody to control her or anything, that she wants to just stay. But
you have to realize that they weren't kidding when they said that she is the most like Brother Michael when they say that. Mm-hmm. In that she craves exactly what he wants. She just knows what he's doing is wrong, so she wants to do it her way, which needs her to be immortal, and that's why she puts the portrait on the wall, because she's starting her own legacy.
Oh, and that was the other thing too, because I'm so angry. I don't know why my tweets aren't on my actual thing, but I was like, why they have
all the paintings, and then it's like a professional digital portrait.
Like somebody, like they just have the white wall to bring down, and they had I was like, yeah, Abby Photoshop skills. Like, why?
Well, I mean, I guess at this point, Amy she knows nothing else. She doesn't know another world. So if she has a vision for this island and what she wants to do with it, she only can see her version of what she's been given.
So, is she going to sleep with all the guys and have all the babies?
No, but she can't. They're not going to be able to produce with her because, like he said, the apples turned any man on the island who wasn't immortal to be.
She doesn't know that, though.
Yeah, but I mean, I don't know. But another thing, going back, do you guys? I mean, because we didn't really touch on it too much, but what do you think is going on outside the walls that these?
Hold on, we're jumping all over the place. Let's keep talking about Amy, because there's a lot to talk about. Because she doesn't just take over. She's taking over in a way. She has taken the few people that Michael spared, and she's going to she's now formed her little army of Michael's slave dudes, including Handry. And she takes over the island. She casts her mother out, essentially. I mean, what are you guys thinking as Anne comes in there?
I mean, I feel like Anne, in a way, is so naive in almost like a kind of sweet, I feel bad for you way. Just the fact that she was so loyal to Michael, even up until the point when, and again, to just carry a legacy like, well, now we're going to continue. It's like, no, he just killed everybody.
It's like, nah,
and
bitch.
now you just, nah, bitch. But it's like, and now she wants to try to help, or she still thinks they're team. And it's like, you would have and this is where I take Amy's side too. It's like, you would have let my dad do the planting with me, and I just stop.
I mean, she's young, so Anne, of course, is looking to say no, little girl, I'm your mother. If anyone's gonna take over, it's gonna be me.
Yeah, but she doesn't even have there's no. She's so submissive. In a way, I mean, even when she tries to, it's like a mother going, no, you do what I say. It's like when kids are screaming around, they're just kind of wagging their finger, I'll wait till your dad gets home, not threatening at all. Her character is not I'm imagining it's basically because she was never that person. They all raised the children together. She never had to be that figure to do that.
Yeah, she never questioned it. She never fought back or in any way. But Amy is the one who is fighting to change everything on the island, and that includes taking charge of Sarah's forever fetus.
I think Amy Amy has been controlled so long, I think she just wants control over her own life. And I think to do that, she thinks she has to control the island. My prediction from the beginning was that Allison's character, Amy, dies in the finale. That's what I think. I think everything gets to the point, and then she's killed by her own initiative. I think Anne's going to die in 211, though, because I think you got to keep Anne around for long enough to give Amy some trouble.
Do you think maybe Anne might be her undoing? Maybe in that final step? I think they're eventually both going to die. But I think Anne is going to set something in motion. Yeah, or even if she's the person, all this time she's been weak and a follower, and even her own daughter/sister doesn't listen to her, and then finally in that last final moment, whatever the heck that we're in for to see, she's going to be the one, I think, that does something that either she's the one who kills her, or like you said, it unravels something that leads to Amy's demise.
You know what it's going to be, and I'm calling it right now, is that we're going to turn Amy into an immortal, and in a last-ditch effort to prevent it, and is going to cross-pollinate something that will prevent Amy from becoming immortal, and that's what creates the disease
that kills
immortals.
Interesting. So it's like it latches it. If we graft it into the virus that's out there right now, much the way that last season we were grafting things into DNA for vectors.
Or if to sabotage turning Amy into an immortal, she puts the virus in with Sarah's blood, and that creates the new virus within Amy.
Ooh,
interesting.
Ooh. Or somehow she uses what was that little kid that went missing that you were thinking?
Soren.
Yeah, all of a sudden out of nowhere, Soren just comes out of nowhere because we don't know what happened to him, and we saw that other guy that Sarah had shot that was still alive days later, and he's still kicking.
Let's talk about that.
Can we?
Yeah,
48 hours to die with this thing.
Most people,
and this is 5 days later.
And he was shot in the chest, was he not?
Yeah, Sarah shot him twice. Most people die. They get the pusses filling their mouth up, and they die from the disease.
So much phrasing.
But for some reason, eating this specific tree sap from out in the woods is sort of a treatment, not a cure, but it slows down the virus.
Yeah, or just maybe most in general, because again, he got shot in the chest. Virus or not, you should die.
He had healing speeds comparable to that
of vectors
of an immortal
Wonder Boy.
or immortals or Wonder Boy.
Of immortals. So
interesting.
If we think, I mean, it's interesting to think that we could have discovered something that is turning people closer to immortals, and that's what he's trying to been using on his kids. That's what Brother Michael was trying to do. And at the same time, that mixed with the apple that causes infertility or sterilization has caused this new thing.
And here's the thing, too. From the very beginning of the episode, when they land on this island, Anne is the one who tells them it's dangerous, it's not safe out here. So how long... If they didn't know of a virus, they knew that there was dangers out in the woods. What was dangerous? There's no animals that are leering around or anything. It's these pus vector things that are running around. So how much do we know is that going to come in later? Where, I mean, that's where all the bones and the skeletons that they fall into.
Yeah, I mean, we still haven't gotten. We assume that those are from previous cullings at this point.
That's true. Makes more
my
sense.
thought is that the sap is somehow from a plant that Michael has engineered that is life-preserving in his attempts to recreate the immortality.
I can see that.
If we assume that, because now we know that there was one event where all 500 people became immortal, we assume that he's been trying to find ways to recreate it. If at first he was trying to just find trees that would heal people quickly, that would then recreate the immortality. What if he bred his own DNA into trees? So you're drinking Tree Michael sap.
Tree Michael.
Tree Michael. I just pictured him as a giant hippie.
But he's talking about all the grafting and combining things. What if he combines himself with a plant that would theoretically allow somebody
he not have sex with?
that would allow somebody to eat something that would then give them their immortality.
Maybe.
That's why he calls it the plantaning.
I have another idea. You know, the last thinning was about 100 years ago. This is the second colony or the third colony?
I don't think they've said.
It's been 500 years.
We don't even know how many times he's done that.
Yeah.
Hypothetically, there could have been survivors from every colony.
Well, there has to be, because the great-grandmother told
at least
Anne.
one.
Yeah, so, I mean, you have Soren and those guys who escaped in the woods before this thinning could happen, so they're technically survivors of this round. You have potentially 500 years worth of survivors from previous
hiding out there in the woods.
And then you also have 500 years of plants from, if it was on this side of the island, if it was on this side of the island, you have different plants that are growing and evolving at different rates that can be cross-pollinated around the entire island. So you have several ecosystems that are combining into different things.
Interesting.
And have the bees.
It definitely has a lot of potential. We're running low on time, so I want to spend enough time, because we know from the part in the future with Julia and Caleb, just to go through it real quick, that we see Michael, of course, reemerge, gets his head chopped off by Caleb with the sword.
Dude, that face when Julia comes... I can't even.
As he's about to kill Julia, but we get the goal. The big thing that's revealed there is that Julia's goal is to find Sarah's baby. It is now we have a.
Which she's assuming
we finally
she's
have
fetus.
Yeah, we finally have a convergence of our 30 years in the future timeline and our modern day timeline, in that Julia is coming to the island. She said she's gone there before, so we have to assume she's coming this season. And she's in the past, and that both times were to find Sarah's child, whether it's fetus form or baby.
Well, she kept on saying fetus. So for all I don't think she thinks that this thing is still alive. I think she thinks it's just like basically stem cells. Like I don't think she knows it's a
abortion.
baby.
We gave you.
We never kill a baby.
We induced labor. We never kill a baby here.
The accents with the Southern and the Batman. Oh my God,
We never
Southern
killed
Batman.
a baby here.
Southern Batman.
But the reveal is we find out where at least the fetus went.
Baby jar.
It's in a baby jar.
That doesn't make sense why they have that technology.
No, it totally. Here's the thing. All that we see there is a glass jar that has some tubes and stuff hooked up to it. We've already seen Michael's plant, his lab, effectively. In theory, if they there could be a biological way to keep a child alive using plant-based technology.
Immortal. It's also immortal.
Yeah, it's also immortal.
So, like,
how creepy was it when it opened its eyes and it just like looks at the camera?
And it's like, you are not far long enough to have developed those eyes to open. Stop it.
You don't know. He's immortal. We also have Mother to figure out and what the planting actually is.
Yeah.
So we're gonna have to figure.
Well, I actually felt like the Mother and the planting thing is sort of we figured out what it is here, and I think it's just super. I'm like hoping that it's a red herring. And that we get it back because when he thinks that Amy is going to give herself to him, Michael says the planting is just the ceremony, just straight up of having sex with his daughters. That's the planting, and he refers to the first mother, and he uses the specific word mother in that moment where is the mother just like the oldest woman on the island? That's what he sort of implies in that moment.
Like the original.
But the last time we talked about Mother, it sounded like it was something much bigger.
Yeah, it's something much bigger, and I know this because I know what the name of next week's episode is.
What about the scene?
We'll save that for predictions.
What about the scene, I think this might have been going to last episode, but when he threatens Anne or somebody, like, I'm going to take out all your teeth or something?
Yeah, I mean, there's something about that ceremony that means a lot.
And it's roots. It's down to the roots.
Yeah, the thing that's really, I'm very curious about the fetus is whether it can age or not. There was a great, if you go on, like I talked about the access granted, the online stuff, there's a great little like short vignette from on there. I think it was from episode 7 that's like 2-minute long, just like sort of like a day in the life of Madame Durand, the little girl, and like how much of a struggle it is to be forever young.
Forever young.
No, that's the thing. She doesn't want to be forever young. Her life is sort of like hell because like she can. Yeah, she's old enough to appreciate like fine wine
She's never going to be taken seriously. It'd be weird for anybody to be sexually.
Yeah, she goes
her.
to a red carpet and tries to ask out some hot actor, and he's like, kisses her on the cheek. Oh, you're so cute. But she's 500 years older than him. It's really sad.
Yeah.
It's sad. But anyway, so let's get into official predictions for next week.
AfterBuzz TV predictions.
Like a minute.
Okay. Real quick, one thing.
She's going to go down. Stuff.
Of course.
Thank you. Yeah, I already said my prediction, what I think's going on. I think we're going to get more of Michael in the present time soon. Not the 30 years later, but the present time. And I think they're going to find out about the fetus next episode and where it is.
Yeah, I think we're going to find out more about exactly who Caleb is. I think it is.
Fetus is not Caleb.
Meh.
Interesting. I think that we're going to see the baby sort of moved around as like a football of sorts of like every team is trying to get a hold. Football! Well, everybody's trying to get a hold of this baby, of this fetus. The forever fetus could save the world, could change the world. This now becomes the most important thing on the planet.
To save the fetus, save the world.
So I think Ilaria, if word gets out to Ilaria that this exists, I think Ilaria's going to show up very soon. And I think that it's going to become.
We're going to see more Mark.
It's going to become a huge war. Yeah, I mean, once
Sergio.
Ilaria shows up, it's got to be Julia and Sergio.
I can't wait for next week's episode. I think that's our show, though, guys. I got to get out of here. I got to go engineer another show.
All right. What was the title of next week's episode?
I'm not going to say it.
Okay. Well, look it up for yourselves online.
The next 3 weeks are up on Google. Just the titles. That's all I know.
All right. So, well, guys, thank you so much for joining us. We will be back again next week. Matt Lieberman will be joining us again next week. Until then, Lizzie Maui, where can people keep up with you?
You just did what Matt does all the time. Hi, guys, I'm Liz Rishmawy, and you can follow me on Instagram and Twitter at Lizzie Maui. That's LIZZYMAWY.
You can find me on Twitter at Stephen Lemieux, STPHNLEMIEUX. Go ahead and hit the thumbs up button right now.
Do it.
You need to hit the thumbs up button.
And you guys can follow me on Twitter at that Zach Wilson, THATZACHWILSON. Bunch of shows here at AfterBuzz. Better Call Saul up later tonight. Thank you guys so much. I'm Zach Wilson, and thanks for geeking out with us.
Peace.
From executive producers Maria Menounos, Kevin Undergaro, Phil Svitek, and the entire AfterBuzz TV staff, we would like to thank you for listening to the AfterBuzz TV network. To watch or listen to other after shows and post comments or questions, be sure to visit AfterBuzzTV.com. I'm Sir Richard Wentworth, and this has been a presentation of AfterBuzz TV.
Ziz ya later.
The views expressed herein are those of the hosts only and do not necessarily reflect the views of AfterBuzz TV or its owners or principals.